by two of our lovely penguin keepers, Jodie and Evie. However, I think it's only fair, right and proper that we actually give it up and make a massive noise for the stars of our show, the penguins! Fantastic penguins doing it. So they'd be delighted to see you here. You're a resounding joy to be in their presence. And you'll want to join Evie down the front. I'll be telling you a little bit about their snacking in just a moment. But like I say, we have over 90 Humboldt penguins here. And the Humboldt penguin is just one of 18 different species of penguin. So, they come in many shapes and sizes. When you've got so many species, they come very, very large and very, very small indeed. Now, the largest of all penguins is the emperor penguin. That one comes in at a rather magnificent 4 foot tall. So actually taller than some of our smaller members of the audience here today. However, where there's very big, there's also very cute and tiny, and that would be our little blue penguin, also known as the fairy penguin due to its diminutive stature. And that one is a very small, 30 centimetres, so super cute. So what you could say is that our Humboldt friends here are very much medium-sized on the penguin scale. Now these guys are found in the coastal regions of Peru and Chile in South America. And you might think that's a bit unusual because those are very lovely hot places. But actually, of the 18 different species of penguin, only 5 are found in the snowy, icy seas that your Christmas cards annually suggest. That would include, of course, that giant-sized emperor penguin. They are found in the Antarctic, so definitely snow and ice going on there. However, you can find a little teeny tiny blue penguin in Australia, and you can even find penguins sunning themselves on the beaches of South Africa. So very common to find a penguin enjoying the sunshine. The general rule of thumb, however, is that you will only find penguins in the southern hemisphere, that is below the equator. So they will never meet the polar bear, which is from the Arctic, from the very top, the north part of the world. So these guys are enjoying a little bit of a swim, a little spot of lunch, and they're diving into the water to follow all that tasty food that Eve is throwing down in there, and that's encouraging their natural behaviour. Now I'm going to ask you guys a question. You sound like you're in very good voice today. So I'm going to ask you what a penguin's favourite food is. I'm going to count down from 3, and you're going to shout it out really loud. What's the penguin's favourite food? 3, 2, 1. Yes, you are absolutely spot on. And that's exactly what it is throwing into the water there. About 30 fish a day to every single penguin. It makes up around 80% of their diet. But they do like other stuff off that seafood menu, things like crabs, crustaceans, and a little tiny thing called krill, which is like a really mini shrimp. Now as these guys are diving in the water, they're showing off a lot of their natural adaptations, not least inbuilt swimming goggles. They have an inner eyelid that closes over that's transparent, so they can still see through it to be able to detect all that tasty fish in the water. They are also magnificent divers. Any old penguin can easily dive 100 metres. Our Humboldt penguin's 150 metres, and that giant-sized emperor penguin can dive up to 500 metres. That's the same as 5 Big Bens stacked up on top of each other. An epic dive indeed. And whilst they're in the water, their feathers are looking after them rather perfectly. So the outer layer of a penguin's feather, as they have 2 layers of feathering, the outer layer is semi-waterproof, pretty useful when you spend much of your time in the seas and oceans. And then the inner layer is a soft, downy feather, about 100 of those to a square inch, keeps them nice and warm and insulated. What you might notice is that some of our penguins are starting to look a little bit scruffy at the moment, and we're just starting to go into the molting season. And this is fine because they do this every single year. They're very used to it. They molt their feathers and they get a lovely, shiny new coat underneath. You might notice one of our really young juveniles, a youngster from this year, right down the front. He hasn't needed to molt yet because he's so new. He's got a really bright white tummy, and that's how all of these guys
That's the little one that we just saw.
new feathers grow through. They'll be back to
One that was
really
by
bright
us.
white again. It will
That's
be
the young one. It's
hot
not
washed
molting.
with a really
The
good
other ones are
washing
going to start
powder.
molting.
Now as we are hovering around on the banks here, you can see really well tone colouring that of course is iconic for a penguin, a black back and the white front. And this is actually their camouflage. Very, very clearly in the pool here. However, what we need to know of the penguin that we are escaping the oceans for a penguin snack for lunch. And as we swim through the waters and look down, we will get confronted by the tiny back of a penguin. Now that will blend perfectly with the deep dark ocean floor below. So the penguin will remain unseen. Similarly, if we're looking through the water and we're looking up for our penguin snack, we get that white toy, which this time blends but with the sky above the sea. So you can see that either way around, the penguin is perfectly hidden and gets to remain undetected to swim another day. It's called counter shading. Quite a lot of our wild animals have it, not least that killer whale that is actually a predator of the penguin. Also has the counter shading, but not to hide from predators, of course, to creep up on its prey. Now these guys are enjoying their little bit of dinner here and they're wandering along the edge, looking very, very cool, about to be at my trousers picked for a second there. And they swim rather beautifully, but one thing that they can't do is fly. That's right, penguins are flightless birds. If you didn't know that, I'm sorry to be the person to break that news to you, but they're perfectly happy with this. They have dense, solid, heavy bones, actually like you or me. And like you and I don't fly, neither do our penguins. Our native birds here, the gulls, the pigeons, the herons, they have hollow, light bones, which means that they can take off and soar through the sky no problem. But these guys don't mind because they are massive swimmers instead. Fantastically fast, getting up to 25 kilometres, that's 15 miles per hour. Now if you were a top Olympic athlete, you'd be dreaming of maybe 4 miles per hour. So as I say, these guys are super speedy in the water. Now you maybe noticed our Stonewall type banner here, our posters, something today, get over it. We've even got our bunting left over from our Pride takeover this weekend. And it's a very true fact that quite often, out in the wild, many birds have same-sex couplets, and penguins are quite famous for it. We've got 3 same-sex couples here at the zoo. Most famously are the gorgeous Ronnie and Reggie. Now Ronnie and Reggie have been given an egg that got abandoned by another couple, and they've been nesting that egg absolutely conscientiously and relentlessly. So we're really fingers crossed that Ronnie and Reggie will have that egg hatch at some point over the summer. Now these guys are obviously enjoying their lunch here. You can see that they're Humboldt penguins by their little spots on their tummies. No 2 penguins have the same spot markation. It's as individual as a fingerprint is for you or me. And they love having the sea and the pool here and lots of tasty fish. Out in the wild, they also live in big colonies, so they're very used to having a large family around them, and they make their homes out of sticks and stones and rocks and soil and a thing called guano, which is penguin poo. Apparently, the best substance for sticking together penguins' home sweet home. They're named after Alexander von Humboldt. Well, they're named after the currents that he discovered around that coastal area of South America. They're found swimming in the currents, so they get the same name. It's gone full circle, the Humboldt penguin. And they're having a great time here, but out in the wild, less so. And that, of course, is due to a problem that you are all very familiar with. That is the problem of plastic. Now, every single year, we generate over 300 million tonnes of plastic. That's such an epic number. Let me put that into proportion for you. That is the same in weight as the entire adult population of the world. 1 year in plastic. Now, obviously, loads of that is getting into the seas and oceans and getting into our food chain. It takes 450 years to start breaking down, never goes away completely. So here at the Zoological Society of London, we are a conservation charity. We work in over 50 different countries, but sometimes we like to throw it back to you, our visitors. And this is with our hashtag #OneLess campaign, a really simple campaign about using one less plastic bottle and getting yourself a refillable one. I know loads of you in the audience have got a refillable bottle. Absolutely repping it to you guys, because every time we refill, or reuse, or recycle, or reduce, less plastic gets into the ocean. So thank you for doing that. Come join our crusade on that one.